I'm resident of Colorwood, Joel Sage for YouTube, joined by Bobby Lugosi. We're here to discuss the movie House of Dark Shadows, the first Dark Shadows movie, starring Jonathan Frid, Catherine Lee Scott, Joan Bennett, Thayer David, Grayson Hall. You have God, Lewis Edmonds is in this movie. David Hennessy's in this movie. A who's who of Dark Shadows cast members are in this movie. Oh, Carol or Nancy Barrett's in this movie. Humphrey Allen Australia makes an appearance. Jerry Lacey is in this. So when I sit here and tell you that a lot of the Dark Shadows cast members are in this movie, it's because they are. Uh, this is as Bobby put it in the video we did before. This is Dark Shadows on steroids. And it is. I agree. So, first of all, what did you think of the opening of the movie and actually them using, because in the series we did get actual shots of Seaview Terrace in the beginning episodes, but those went away after a while. Like we didn't get those, and we didn't get the atmosphere anymore of the house.
Right.
Here, it's a movie. They're going to open it up, but we're not going to get the Seaview Terrace. We're going to get the Lyndhurst Estate. What did you think of that?
I really, I really like it. It's like the first time I saw it, it was like a little bit jarring, but it was. I have to say, it's like it's so exciting too. Like because you see that they're like actually there, and like even like the way it opens when you like how it's the same theme music but done like differently. You know, like when you hear that. Like, but with like all the high tech and how it's like an actual movie, but you see all like the familiar names and stuff. It's like it was different, but it was like cool, you know, like because it felt like it should be kind of different, and it was like, and the house is like they filmed the house so spookily, like so I thought it was like cool seeing it.
Somebody once asked me, "What's the best way to watch this?" And I'll ask you that too. But before you give your answer, I want to give mine because mine is, though I have the DVD and I will throw it in. My first experience watching this was on Turner Classic Movies.
Oh, cool.
And I'm like, all right, I haven't seen the movie yet. I just finished watching the series for the umpth time. Why not watch the movie? One of the first, the first movie. I'm thinking, because my expectation is I'm going to see the Great House, right?
Right, yeah.
So I see this big ass mansion. I'm like, holy shit. So for me, again, you own the DVD, right?
Yeah.
So we're both going to plug physical media, obviously. But one of the best ways to watch this, honestly, is just on television. Like if you can catch House of Dark Shadows on television, watch it. But what for you? What's the best way to watch it? You think?
I gotta say, because the first time I watched it, I rented it from the local video store.
Yeah.
And then the second time, because it wasn't like the series was available, but I couldn't. The video store was the only place they had the movie, and I was so into the series, and because it was like the story kept advancing, that like I was mainly watching that. So the second time I watched the movie was actually at the 2007 Dark Shadows convention. And so that was the best way to watch it. Like it was with a bunch of Dark Shadows fans. Like
Get everybody in the room and watch the movie. It's basically sort of like being in a movie theater in a sense.
Yeah,
you got to watch it in a way.
Yeah, honestly like a movie theater, but better because like everyone loved it. Like I remember, it was the one moment. It was after the biggest laugh that it got was after Julia sees Barnabas with Maggie, and that shot of her with the cigarette. And that got the biggest it got like such a reaction from the audience.
I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah, so it was like fun because like and it wasn't it was like it was I guess because everyone loves the character, you know, and it's such an iconic pose with her with this that's like her trademark, you know.
Hey, her husband wrote the dialogues.
Right?
So, yeah, fun fact: Grayson Hall came on this series first, and then she said about her husband being a writer, and that would be Sam Hall, um, which him and Dan Curtis became friends. Obviously, Sam's a hell of a writer. He helps write this movie along with Dan, um, which is really, really an interesting, fun movie. I love how I was really pleasantly surprised with this movie to get the not just the outside of the house, but the inside shots as well. Um, Again, it's a much bigger presentation, bigger house. It looks like a gothic mansion for sure, somewhat like a castle almost, not quite. But what did you think of the inside of the house?
It's it's like kind of unnerving the inside of the house,
Yeah,
especially when like compared because like the series like even though it's mainly just like you know like the foyer and the drawing room, those two rooms they feel very spacious and very like they feel kind of comfortable and cozy. You know, like it was the house in the movie like it's I and we went for part of the convention we actually went to the house and like I noticed like it's like very like it's a huge house but it's like tight hallways
yeah,
and like the rooms aren't like super big you know so it's like a lots of walls so there's a very like it's like it's kind of it's like a spooky house it really is like to be in the way they film it like because there's a sense that there could be something around any corner around every corner.
yeah. That's crazy. It's like the room, like it's very tight, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Right? Um, I like the fact that how they shoot Maggie going up the steps. We get Catherine Lee Scott's name on it, and she's looking for David. She's looking for David, and when she goes back down, when she goes outside, man, how creepy is John Carlin's Willie Loomis a bit in this movie?
Right. Right. That is the creepiest scene when it's sort of channeling the scenes with the first Willie.
Yeah, but
Yeah, because like I mean like that like how pervy when it's what's the matter Maggie you know you like it you know I like
uh, here's the thing too, like uh, because there's a lot of changes here. We are getting the characters, but we're more getting the characters by namesake for the most part. There are some changes. Willie Loomis is not the thief we know from the series. He's an employee. There's no Jason McGuire. He's just a disgruntled employee who doesn't want to work for the Collins family no more. And it's like, and I'm sure there's like a laundry list of people who are that too. And Willie, they ask Willie to help look for David. David's like, oh, that's your kid. You look for him. And Roger fires him. He goes, pick up your pet. Make sure you pick up it. I'll pick up my pen. I'll pick up much more. And I just love the Lewis Edmonds' introduction is cool in this movie too,
yeah
because it's right there in the stable and stuff. And I really love Lewis Edmonds, Nancy Barrett's, and John Carlin's interaction, all three of them together. It felt really smooth and really creepy because you have John Carlin just being creepy.
yeah
It's like, what are they going to like? We know Willie's going to release Barnabas, but it's like, Willie, buddy, you're in for a night.
right
Um,
yeah
what did you think of Sleepy Hollow Cemetery?
I loved it. Like it's, and I found, because I remember like finding out that they like that was the location like during the convention and things, and like it's such a perfect like setting. Like
Yeah,
it has so much atmosphere.
yeah,
And I gotta say that about the movie, like in general, like it's like it has a different feel because it's not like the sets from the show, but they found like the most like atmospheric and like spooky locations.
yeah.
Like they like Dan Curtis, he took advantage of the fact that it was a movie.
Yeah, like if like you've I've seen movies that are like shot in certain places, and it's like you get why they were shot there because you're going for the spooky effect. But I gotta say, House of Dark Shadows pulls it off the most.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the house, even the grounds just look creepy,
Yeah.
and the cemetery is a nice touch.
It really is.
It's like Jesus. It's like they really were smart about where they wanted to shoot this, and I'm glad they shot it like the movie here. The fact that you get John Carlin going in into a crypt, into literally a mausoleum.
Yeah.
It's like, and then, well, we know what happens. The chains come off, but Barnabas, he opens the lid, and there Barnabas grabs him by the throat. Now, there's some really good scenes in the old house. We don't get the old house from the series that burned down, but we get the old house that the one in Terrytown, I think. The other house they use where Jonathan Fritz Barnabas is going to try to restore it in the movie as well. Maggie is still looking for David. David scares her, runs out, locks her in her. Our introduction to David is pretty much speedrunner on feet. What did you think of that, man?
I really liked it. I was like thinking how interesting that was with David, how they kind of combine the like David of the early episodes where he
Yeah,
was that devious prankster, and then combine it with like the David of like a little bit later on.
there's a there's a there's a photo out there. I'll try to find it and send it to you. I'm sure you've seen it, where he pulls this prank where he's hanging from the closet.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I'm gonna try to find that bad boy on out there, and if I do, I'll send it to you on
Would you
Messenger.
please thank you?
That I've seen that. I've seen people post that, and I'm like, yeah, if that would have made the movie, that would have, yeah, you wouldn't have been sympathetic for David. Uh,
Yeah, that's wild because that's like you like I don't know if you've ever seen Harold and Maude, but but that's what Harold does.
like it's like I there's pranks. Like, we all know people who can do pranks.
Yeah.
There's funny pranks, and there's just mean spirited ones. And it's like if they pull off that prank in the movie, yeah. But but instead of that prank, they pull a different prank, which I like. They put Maggie in a locked room in a sense, and we get our buddy Barnabas who's messing with the doorknob, and the door comes open, and you hear her scream, then you hear Maggie's boyfriend. Uh, Roger Davis is in this movie too. He's playing Jeff Clark. That's who you hear. And she says about David. He says they found David just a couple minutes ago, so it couldn't have been David messing with the door. Um, Roger. This is sort of Roger Volt. Roger plays it. It's just her hysteria.
Uh, I love it. I love it.
It's
You
like,
know, and I love that about like even they only have 96 minutes, but they still get like all the characters in, like all the tropes you want. like,
Like I need Roger to have a brandy in his hand, and as soon
uh,
as he says that line, just sip the brandy, just like your James Bond, and we're good. We're
uh,
good. Um, but yeah, really good line by Lewis Edmonds. What it, the first person Barnabas bites outside of Willie is Daphne. Obviously, Daphne's gonna
uh,
get get bit up here, and I love how Roger Davis is driving up to the estate and he sees Daphne. He gets out the car. Daphne, like the woman's lost like half a pint of freaking blood here. You think she's gonna answer you, dude? No. What did you think of that scene, man?
I really I love the how it's like part of the anticipation of
Yeah,
well, like right away it's like this is gonna be a more violent Barnabas.
yeah. This is if I think the expect like a lot of the expectation, like if you're expecting that goody goody Barnabas, yeah, don't.
Uh,
And I think that's something with the early scenes they're painting right away. I'm with you on that. Like that's what I was telling a friend of mine, John Philip Betancourt. Shout out to him. He's like, "What's House of Dark Shadows like?" I'm like, just I'm like, you know how like there's all that stuff about Barnabas being bad in the series. I said they turned that up 110 degrees
yeah.
in the movie, and I'm like, they go all the way with it, and they do. And I love how I'm with you. Like the early on, they're not they're not trying to tell you, hey, this is a goody goody. No, no, he's out for blood.
Right, yeah.
And the Daphne scene, it's one thing to bite Willie who disturbed your crypt, but it's another to bite a helpless woman who's trying to get to her car. And that's exactly what Dan Curtis and the writers are telling you here. This is not your goody goody Barnabas, and I love it.
Mhm.
So, what?
It sets the tone right away.
Yeah, it's a great mood setting too. Like, it's a this movie. It has a very fall feel to it too, which I like. Um, that's the thing too. It's very like when you watch this movie to me, it always feels cold. Like
Yeah.
like it looks cold where they're filmed, but
Yeah, yeah.
but so it's like man, it looks cold there. But then after Daphne gets bit, we we get Barnabas strolling to the great house, and we instead of a knock on the door, we get a doorbell, which I
Uh,
like. And here comes this little old maid, and yes, and you're Jonathan. He walks in, and he goes right to right to like the organ or whatever, and he's like, and there's Lewis. I love how they shoot the cane, and there's
yeah,
Lewis Edmonds.
yeah.
What did you think of that?
I loved it. It's like I said again, like they really took advantage of the fact that this was a movie.
Yeah,
And making it like is like because when doing the show you can only do so much with the three cameras, that with that setup. Whereas here they're like playing all sorts of weird, different stuff that they did on this series, but they're
yeah,
able to do more of. Like have the unusual angles and like really like make it like visually exciting.
yeah. There's the things they do in this series. They're able to do a lot better in the movie because of the budget and
Yeah,
the way they're able to do the shots and stuff is really really cool. And the way they have a lot tighter corridors here. If you as you've pointed out again the way they do the cameras and make the house look, it
yeah,
looks good. It,
yeah,
they get everybody in the scene that they need to, and I love how when we get to Barnabas and we get to the portrait scene, man, is that shot beautifully. That's
yeah,
that was my wonder, like too. Like, okay, they're gonna have that portrait scene just for callback's sake, at least.
yeah.
It's like, how are they going to do that in this big ass house?
Right? Yeah.
And they answer that question.
Yeah.
I love that. What did you think of that?
I loved it. I love how they do it. Like, and how it's like everyone's reactions, and how Professor Stokes is, you see the dynamic already.
Yeah.
Where like Professor Stokes, he's like he's already kind of suspicious.
Yeah. I love how he goes, where did you live? He said, Barnabas says, he goes, oh, the Bramwells?
Uh
And that's a sort of fun nod to the series that comes later on.
uh
They don't know it yet, but still, I like that little nod that they have.
I do too. I like what
Bramwell Collins. So, do you know the
uh,
Bramwells?
uh, I love when Dark Shadows does it. They do the nods in reverse. Like, I don't know if you remember, but there's a really early episode. I think it's episode 3 or 4, when Carolyn says at the stroke of midnight, Uncle Roger turns into Count Dracula.
Yeah, the one of the best nods though too in this series. Welcome to the House of Usher. I'm like, oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I'm like, here's the thing. Like, I've seen the original House of Usher. It's like, yeah, that was pretty good. That was pretty. Like,
yeah.
there you go. What? I'll ask you that by the end of this. Because that's not has nothing to do with this. Um, I gotta really assess then. If I get off track, I'm gonna kick myself. So, I'm trying to be a good behaved host. Um, it won't work. But it's I love the one thing I do love too in the movie. We get Barnabas giving Elizabeth Naomi's jewels, and we actually get to see them. Really, really smart by the writers and the cinematographer and Dan Curtis. The way he directed that scene, really good. What do you think?
Oh, I love that too. I think it again. It gives it just putting them on. It gives Joan Bennett a great chance to shine. And just in that beautiful, you appreciate how beautiful she is. This beautiful movie star.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Here, Jones used to be in a movie like in the 30s and 40s. That's all she was in movies, like gangster movies and stuff, movies. And to see her here, it's nice to see her back in her element. Now she's not going to be the biggest character in this movie, but they give her her moments, which is nice. And
Yeah,
it's I think that's the nicest thing about this movie. Like, even though there's not, again, it's not necessarily everybody has a main part, but everybody does get into this movie,
yeah.
um, which I'll get into here in a bit. Don Briscoe obviously gets in this movie. He's dating Carolyn. Um, now, I like how if you noticed in the scene, Carolyn makes mention she's going to London. She's gonna go to London by the summer. So Jonathan's Fritz Barnabas, he can't let her leave, and he sneaks into her room as like everyone's getting ready for this big ball and stuff, and he bites her right on the neck. I'm like, oh shit, here we go.
What a great bite too. The way the way the camera goes with his face.
It it really makes you feel like you're Carolyn, and there ain't nothing you can do.
Yeah.
It's creepy how they do. He's in the window, and like I'm like, damn, that was quick. Holy
Right. Yeah.
and he's coming at you, and the way they shoot it, it's masterful. Um, Carolyn is bit. She's wearing something around her neck. You have Maggie, who's dressed like Josette, obviously. That's a thing too. They're sort of taking some of the Maggie Evans Josette storyline and putting it into this movie. The great news is Maggie doesn't get kidnapped, at least not right away.
Uh,
Um, so there's um, sorry,
That's all right.
but with this ball, I like how everybody's played dress up. I like how Jeff Clark looks. Don Briscoe. Don Briscoe hounding Carolyn like, "What's wrong with you tonight?"
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I the par- and the party scene is so cool because again, like it's taking advantage of the movie. That was one of the neatest things on the episodes of the show is when they had the party at the old house and they
Yeah,
were wearing the costume, but then it was only five of them. Now you have like this whole cast of extras.
yeah. And that's the thing too, is to have like this big grand costume party to give
Yeah,
this nod to the series was fun, and
yeah,
the way they did it too, because it again, there's serious moments going on within the party and conversations going on within the party, but the fact that you get to sort of sit back and watch this spectacle is fun.
yeah,
It's just beautiful. You also have you also have Barnabas convincing Maggie to stay. Don't leave. And I love how he's using his vampire sort of hypnot, look into her eyes and sort of using his vampire abilities to get her to stay. It's like you're a dog. You're a dog.
yeah.
Like I want Jeff. Even though it would cost Jeff Clark his life, I want Jeff Clark to go over and just sucker punch Barnabas. Get your like if I was at that party, like wrap my arms around Jeff, like, hey dog, see that boy over there? He's hitting on your girl, man. He's hitting on your girl. I'd be in, I'd be like the worst instigator at the party. Um, I love Dr. Hoffman too, and it's like when because she does the compact when she eventually when she's gonna do the compact mirror, but not here. It's so cool that she's at this party and she's having this conversation herself. She gets to meet Barnabas here at the party, and then later on, when we finally do get to see Sarah David's interaction with Julie about vampires, um, it's heavy because up until that point, you're thinking, how bad is this going to get, right? Like, because that was always my mindset. Like, things are gonna go bad for Barnabas completely. Like, because for the movie to go completely south, for him to get staked, things are gonna have to happen.
Right, yeah.
And like the first thing that happens, the first domino is the domino he created is Carolyn, him biting Carolyn when he's talking to Willie about Josette, and they're in Josette's room, and he shows him the music box, and he says, "When they put this curse on me," and then Carolyn comes in, and then he bites Carol. It's like, oh yeah, yeah. What did you think of that?
Wow. I mean, the whole thing with Caroline, it's inc- it- it's it's such an exciting twist for it
Yeah,
because it like on the series he bites her. It's like it follows like that plan of it of that he bites her on the series, but it goes like so much further. Now she becomes a vampire, and then the scene when she gets staked. That's
yeah,
like that's one of the I think one of the best movie stakings in film history. It's so exciting, and the way they're all ganging up on each other, and the way Nancy Barrett, she's like a wild animal trapped.
yeah. I like to another cast member we're getting this to is Dennis Patrick, playing Sheriff George
Uh-huh.
Patterson. Um, a far cry different from the
Uh,
con artist Jason
uh,
McGuire, and a far cry from Paul Stoddard. But I really like the fact that they get him in this movie.
I do too. He's like one of those Dark Shadows actor. He's not in a whole bunch of episodes, but he's always such a nice like. It's always so nice to see him. He's
Yeah,
such a great actor, and like especially when because I started with the first Barnabas storyline. So
yeah,
Dennis Hatter to me, he is like such a part of Dark Shadows.
yeah. It's like people people always ask me, well, what's the biggest part of the Barnabas Collins arc? I said, Jason and Willie.
Yeah.
And then they look at you like sideways, like, what are you talking about? I'm like, Jason McGuire and Willie Loomis. So you asked me what's a big
Yeah.
it's like go 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 just go start at the end of the Phoenix arc and go from there and then continue on. And
Perfect. Yeah.
you'll see why I say this. Um yeah, it's just so cool to see him, and we
Yeah.
haven't seen like, and for a fun little part, even though it's not connected to the series, we haven't seen George Patterson on the series for a long while.
Yeah.
And to see a George Patterson in the movie is fun. I don't know if they reached out to Dana Elker or not. I don't know that, but it was just so nice to see Dennis Patrick in a different role.
It was, and he's a very dynamic Sheriff Patterson.
Yeah,
'Cause on the show, Sheriff Patterson can never really get too far. Whereas this one, he's like he is like his plan is good.
yeah, and you can tell too he has a bit of feelings for Liz, which is nice.
Yeah.
Like you can tell he has a bit of a crush on Elizabeth. It's like it's freaking Joan Bennett. Who wouldn't? I buy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
And
it's a great fun nod to to the character he played in the series,
yeah.
but it's different. So what did you think of, because Carolyn dies, and he completely drains the life out of her, and Willie's walking her back to the great house. I love John Carlin. He goes, "Oh, Carolyn, I gotta go. I gotta go. You can make it." I'm thinking, dude, have you not been helping her this whole time? Like, no.
Right.
And then when she gets in the house, we have the classic scene where the tray gets dropped, and there's Carolyn's dead body. What did you think of that?
Oh, I loved it. I love that. It's like perfect in the way how the close up of her, all her skin all pale, and then the way they segue into the funeral scene with the mausoleum arch. Like it's like perfect. It's like so well put together.
The fact Nancy Barrett deserves a lot of credit too.
Yeah.
Does not blink at all. To
Yeah.
be like the fact because this is a character who literally just dies on her own floor, bleeding. I love how they get the blood in the shot too.
Yeah.
Very, because they've had the blood in the shot the whole way over of Willie walking Nancy over, and it's like you can maybe think, are they going to forget about the blood? Nope, they don't. And it's so good. I love how like prior to going in the house, John Collins Williams, he's trying to like dabble up the blood. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, bro, seriously?
uh,
Like, you give him an A for effort, but uh, that's all you can do, right?
uh,
And then when she goes in and just dies, and you don't see her fall, but I like that because instead you see this maid walking forward, and boom, tray drops, and there's the dead body, right? It's just
yeah.
it fits this movie perfectly.
Yeah.
It's if you really want shock in a horror movie, that's it right there. House of Dark
Yeah.
Shadows has that. And I'm with you. The funeral sequence is actually my favorite sequence in this movie because for one reason, Jerry Lacey gets
Yeah. Like what a great cameo, like because they have Jerry Lacey as the Reverend.
yeah, and it's like I always when I every time I go back and watch this, I listen intently to Jerry Lacey read, and I'm like, and you see like it's like the most mournful scene. I was like, why do you listen so intently? I'm trying to hear Jerry Lacey here.
Yeah.
It's like, but great. It's just such a great scene, and the fact that they have rain in this scene
Oh yeah.
really makes it good too. They bury Carolyn obviously, And there's a hefty conversation with Professor Stokes and Julia Hoffman here, where Professor Stokes tells Julia his theory that a vampire bit Carolyn and she'll rise from her grave. And I love how we get David at the empty pool lot. If I catch this ball, Carolyn's not dead. It's a morbid thing, but
Yeah.
it's like, oh wow.
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
Oh, I loved it. It's like so perfect for David too, like and yeah, and it's because it is like a childhood thing that you might do, especially David who's like into like the macabre anyway,
Yeah,
and like what a perfect location for that scene. It's so eerie, and then when Carolyn comes out,
yeah,
right, like
yeah. Because that's the thing too. Like you're wondering who's gonna see Carolyn first.
yeah,
And I love how this is it's so different from Barnabas's
yeah,
because David loses the ball. He's trying to get it. He falls. He gets knocked unconscious. He wakes up. It's nightfall. It's getting dark. Like here comes the vampire here, and then you don't you don't see Carolyn first. You hear her,
yeah,
and the fact that they do that gives you just pure chills.
yeah, yeah.
And then when she comes out, he's like you're dead, and like he takes off running. And when he comes into the dining room, he's like, I saw Karen. And Elizabeth's like her
Yeah,
face, it says it all.
yeah,
And I love Julia. This is my favorite scene with Julia and Stokes, because Julia is sticking up for Stokes. She goes, you need to listen to what he's saying.
yeah,
And he's telling him, he goes, Carolyn, he's the boy. I believe the boy. He believes what David saw, because he talks to him in this scene, which I love. And I give Don Briscoe steals it at the end, where he's like, Professor, you were a man I respect. It's like I get it. I can understand where he's coming from. It's like, why
right,
would you know?
right, yeah.
What I'm sorry. What did you think of all that scene? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. I love that scene.
Yeah,
It's because like Dan Briscoe, his reaction is it's everyone's reacting to norm like how you would expect. This sounds crazy,
yeah,
and I love and they set it up well because in the beginning we see what a prankster David is, so you could see why they would. You could see not only is it crazy the idea of coming back from the dead, this is the kind of prank that David would play.
yeah,
So it's set up, and then there, David, he's so powerful.
yeah.
You like the word like it's crazy, but he's like such a great actor. He has such presence that it sounds so believable coming from him.
You get, and then they want yeah, it always said Jeff Clark. Third David Third David Ward's on Briscoe's character.
Yeah,
He's like, you'll be the first person she seeks out, and guess what? That's true. Uh,
yeah,
I love the scene you described too. That we get this scene where she's sort of cornered like this animal when they stake her. I'm with you. It's one of the best. It's probably one of the top three stake moments in a vampire movie. Just the way they shoot it, because there's a lot of people in this scene.
yeah,
There's like police, extras. There's Dennis Patrick. There, David. Uh, Again, there's a ton of people. Jeff Clark is in this scene as well. A hell of a lot of people, but they get everybody in this shot. What
yeah.
did you think of that?
I love it. It's like and you feel so trapped in there too, because like because I mean, like Caroline, especially from watching the series, she's a character we all love, you know.
Yeah.
So like, and to a certain extent, we're on her side too, and like you feel like this like crap of all these people coming at you with the wooden stake, and then she's so great in it because she's like a wild animal.
Yeah, and I love what they do here too. Like earlier on when we got we got her viewpoint where Barnabas came at her. We get her viewpoint of people surrounding her, so you're sort of feeling trapped with her.
Yeah,
They sort of repeat the shot, but different because it's a different set. It's a different setting, and
yeah,
it's a different place where they're shooting because they're not shooting in a bedroom in a sense, and you got a lot more people. You don't just have two people; you have a bunch of people. But I love how they make you feel like Carolyn in some of these scenes,
yeah,
which is smart.
yeah.
Uh, what did we do get some other cameos? I want to mention those real quick too. Humphrey Allen Alstrado, he's going to replace Dr. Hoffman in this movie. And we do get King Johnny Romano, the actor who played King Johnny
Yeah,
Romano in this movie. He's the guy who tells Jeff Clark, Mr. Collins wants to meet you. What did you think of the cameos in this?
I love it. I love it because it's like what you want. You want to see because I mean you like if you love Dark Shadows, you love all the actors. So I love that they're like fitting as many as they could possibly fit in there as possible. And they're all neat. Like Jerry Lacey as the Reverend. That's like perfect. You know, like and and Humphrey Allen Fredo is a photographer and King Johnny Romano like they fit and even though they're small parts, they're super memorable. Like King Johnny Romano, that character, it's like a really memorable little scene.
Yeah, and it's fun that they get them to come
Yeah.
aboard to do those little cameos too. We now before things go completely bad in this movie, um, not that Carolyn's death isn't bad, but I mean, hey, vampires are going to get staked. Uh, when Carolyn gets killed, Barnabas pays them a visit, and this is where Julia sees that Barnabas cast no reflection in her mirror. I love that they do it here around people because anybody could have seen it. But Juliet catches it. They don't do it at the old house. They do it at the great house. A little bit of difference. Um, really cool. What did you think of that?
I really like it. I like how it sort of calls back to the original Dracula,
Yeah.
how it's by chance that you see it.
Yeah.
It's like Van Helsing, he happens to be looking in the cigarette case. Julia happens to be looking at her compact.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like I think in the in this series, the biggest difference is not that it's yes, it's at the old house in the series, but in the series, Julia has Barnabas looking at the Collins family history book.
Yeah.
And Julia has her little mirror out. She goes,
Yeah, yeah.
"Oh, are you looking?" I'm thinking, "Girl, you got some balls."
Right, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's planned out. It's really almost like the final test.
Yeah, it's like you like God, you want to scream, run at Grayson at
Right,
that
yeah.
point. Um, but but in the movie, there's a lot more people around, and like you said, it's by chance, and it's really well shot. I love Maggie's line in this where she goes, "I wish they'd catch the person responsible," and her and Jonathan make eye contact.
Yeah.
I love that little, little back and forth there. That was so good.
Yeah.
And now we are going to get John. We're going to get the treatments here. Grayson Hall's Dr. Julia Hoffman starts treating Barnabas like she did in the series. The biggest difference here is the love story between Dr. Hoffman and Barnabas. The Now, keep in mind in the series, Hoffman has feelings for Barnabas. In here, they're turned up even more for the movie because you're going to have to betray Barnabas, which is smart. So you have where Hoffman's treating him. He's dating Maggie, and he continues. And he tells she finally tells him how she feels, and he says, I'm sorry. I wish you would have told me, but he's honest with her. He tells her he only has feelings for Maggie, obviously. So I have a couple questions for you with that. What did you think of how they did it in the movie compared to the series, and what did you think of the portrayal by Dr. Hoffman in the movie? Sorry.
Um, in the in the original series, it was downplayed more.
Yeah.
It was in a way I do think her attraction to Barnabas was more powerful in the series because even though it wasn't as like upfront, they were able to take their time with it more.
Yeah.
Whereas in House of Dark Shadows, it is a little bit rushed. I understand that there was a deleted scene with
Yeah.
Barnabas and Julia where it would have like gone more and you would have understood like Julia's feelings for him more.
Yeah,
And
it's a bit more dialogue too. That
yeah,
deleted scene that you're talking about. I've seen some fans post it in groups. Um, I'll try again. That's another thing I'll try to send it to you. But there's this more. It's a more heavy-hearted moment because you do get a moment of them having a conversation.
uh,
Her the conversation is more heavy-hearted. She he goes. Uh, he can tell. She tells him, you know, I could love you, and I think that there is so deep because you have this woman who's thrown yourself at her,
yeah,
and now you have to reject her because you know you're not in love with her.
yeah,
And but here's this woman who's been treating you, and it's like, oh shit.
right, yeah, and and I do love the switch of Julia doing it on purpose
Yep.
because that really gives like because I mean you think of like they do it like fairly fast in the movie, but it seemed like it's what about they say about like a month of treatment.
Yeah, that's the thing too. The treatment's been going good. You're right. It's been about a month. Again, time frame in the movie because again with a series you get more development, character development, and more story, more arc.
Oh yeah,
With a movie, you're only getting so much time, so they
right,
have
yeah,
to
yeah,
you have to rush things, as me and Bobby have been pointing out. Um, so about a month, and then Julia knows she has feelings for this guy. She knows I love him. I want to be with him, but he does not. The jealousy of Julia is so great in this movie because you're right, it is more deliberate. In the series, to touch upon the series a bit, it's Barnabas's fault because he rushed it. You're right.
yeah.
He's like, I want you to move up the injections now, and she's like, you realize that's dangerous, right? That could have a very very bad effect. I don't care. And then we get AARP Barnabas, and then he cares. Uh, and then he cares, right, Bobby?
Yeah.
With the movie, obviously, as Bobby pointed out, Julia actually just she betrays him, and we instantly Julia, my hands.
Uh,
I love how they make the makeup they use in the movie is so much more darker. It's
yeah.
so much more serious for the movie. What did you think, Bobby?
Oh, it's frightening. It's a great monster makeup.
Yeah,
It's a it's the whole scene it's so frightening.
yeah, and two, it's when he bites Julia. It's like
Oh,
holy shit, and
right.
even yeah, it's
I'm sorry. You go ahead.
no, it's just it's so like I get every time I see that scene, I get numb because it's that shocking.
Yeah, it's and because there's there's like an icky quality to it
Yeah,
because he's
yeah.
like he's so it's you know what it reminds me of? Have you seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Yes,
Remember
yes.
when the grandpa is like, "Ah,"
Yeah,
like that's what it's like.
yeah. Yeah, because he's with the grandpa in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You're like, is that dude dead or alive?
Yeah,
And with Barnabas, it's sort of again undead.
yeah,
And you're just sort of like frozen with fear of what's about to happen.
yeah, yeah,
Again, House of Dark Shadows in every way is making the audience the victim as much as the characters.
yeah,
And that's sort of why I think that's why you we get a lot of the camera angles of first person esque, but
yeah.
without actually seeing through their eyes. But we get it good enough to have that understanding. And he when he bites when he bites Mackie and he becomes young, it's Jonathan with the blood coming down.
Yeah. He's so repulsive.
Right? It's like the way they do that. It's the you see the old man. It's like, where's your AARP card now? And like, you're right. It's so repulsive. It makes your skin crawl a bit. You love the movie for it though.
Yeah.
It's every bit the horror movie it needs to be and should be. And the bite on Maggie. He's going to kidnap Maggie. Um, Julie is Julie is gone. She's dead. Uh, but, but well, she's pretty much good. But with the we get Jeff Clark, who's going to be your reluctant. He's going to be your hero. Uh, how shocked were you that not only does Lewis Edmonds get turned into a vampire, but Professor Stokes does too?
That was thought one of the biggest twists because
Yeah.
they set Professor Stokes up as Professor Van Helsing
Yep.
because he figures it out from like the beginning. They have a very tense scene in the morning when he discovers him and after like he beats up Barnabas beats up Willie. So he's really set up as the Van Helsing, and what a awesome scary twist he turns out to be that Barnabas got him.
Yeah.
It makes Barnabas it feels like the whole world is turning upside down because this like institution of a character who's always so strong is now a vampire.
I think if you're Dan Curtis, as much as he loves the classics as much as we all do,
Yeah.
I think he knew like I can't have it be Van Helsing and Dracula because
Yeah. Yeah.
it won't be my own movie if I do that.
Yeah.
And I give him credit for having that twist because you're right, it's so terrifying because you're not expecting it.
Right. Yeah.
I'm with you 1,000%. It's just even when I go back and watch this movie, I'm thinking, holy shit, they made Professor Stokes a vampire.
Yeah.
Oh
And it's doing just what you said. How you feel at that moment, you feel like you're seeing it from Jeff Clark's perspective. It's like
yeah.
Professor Stokes is about to bite you.
Yep, and that's what makes it's sort of what makes the roll around on the ground all the more terrifying. It's like
Yeah,
fight for your life here,
yeah.
kid.
It's like you feel like you practically feel it's like hot breath on you.
Yeah, and I love how too when we get to Roger, he's so like exhausted from becoming the van. Like he hasn't quite changed yet, but
Yeah,
once he does, it's like boom. Roger has or Jeff Clark, Roger Davis. It's easy to say Roger Davis and Roger Collins, but Roger Davis is Jeff Clark stakes him to. I love the fact that one of the best scenes too, and I jumped over it a bit, is when Willie Loomis goes to Maggie Evans and tries to warn her about Barnabas. Oh my
uh,
god! What did you think of that scene?
I love that and yeah, I love that because he's trying his best, but he's still like Willie Loomis is not great with communication. Like
No.
I love that he's still that awkward character because it seems like he's in like gets violent with David, and that's what makes Maggie think she's even more crazy.
Yeah.
Like
And we don't get to hear the conversation with Professor Stokes, which I'm glad we don't because it leaves everything to suggestion of what could have been said,
yeah,
which is cool. And part of his Holland for Julia is just epic in the movie.
yeah.
Um, what scale scale of 1 to 10? How which do you prefer? Which cane beating do you prefer better? The cane beating Willie got in the series or the cane beating Willie got in the movie?
The movie is incredible.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, and that was the moment when I called it Dark Shadows on steroids because that's because
But
it's so fast and so bloody. Like,
it's like hit him again, god damn it, hit him again.
yeah, like,
It's like even though you know Barnabas is a bad guy in this movie, it's like just cane him for God's
right?
sakes.
Yeah, it's like when you watch Nightmare on Elm Street when it's fun to watch like Freddy go like it's fun to watch Barnabas do
It,
that.
it is. It is. I'm with you. Um, so Jeff Clark, he's going to be our hero of this movie, but with an assist. Another twist in this movie, as will I love the line from Jonathan: "Every wedding needs a witness, and you'll be witness to this one." To Jeff Clark, Willie takes a crossbow for Barnabas, but also Willie helps stake Barnabas too. Jeff Clark and Willie Loomis are your heroes of this movie. What did you think about that?
I loved it. It was first of all like the perfect setting for the
Yeah,
climax. Like again, just a great, really atmospheric, real life setting.
yeah,
And I love that they make Willie the hero because that was on the series. That was always in him on the series. He tried to save Maggie. He wasn't but he wasn't brave enough in the series.
yeah.
He didn't have that forethought. So it was like it was taking the Willie character and what was always in him, but like taking it to a next level of what could this character really do?
I think too with the movie, it Willie needs a redemption, right?
Yeah,
Because it's like you can tell with it all. Like I didn't mean to cause he. You can tell he's sort of John Carlin's face says it all. He's feeling guilty because he knows he caused a lot of this by letting Barnabas
yeah,
out.
yeah,
And I think that's another reason for the betrayal too. It's like he can't he's seen enough. John Carlin's William Loomis has seen enough death.
yeah,
And that's another reason for the betrayal at the end, which I love. I think him and Roger Davis played that scene greatly. Great, just Jonathan acted his ass off, and again, Catherine Lee Scott being like this sort of steel, like sitting at like helpless Josette,
yeah,
it's like you're screaming for someone to save her at this point,
right, yeah.
and just a great. What did you think of how she looked in the Josette dress?
Oh, she looked wonderful, but
Uh,
so haunting, so
yeah,
haunting. You could see you could see her. You could see how she would become a vampire.
yeah,
She had that haunting vibe.
yeah. And the way I'm with you. Like the setting too. This is just so creepy. And it's
Yeah,
so good, and I love the way they shoot. Like him, Jonathan looking up at
yeah,
Jeff Clark is so good. It's one of my favorite shots in the movie.
yeah.
It's just creepy. What's your favorite shot in the movie?
Vampire Shadows. They're also good.
You can have more than one, I promise.
Let's see. I love let me think. Well, I love the Vampire Professor Stokes.
Yeah.
Those close-ups of him are so good. And then see what else. Oh, and when Barnabas grabs the arrow.
Yeah.
That's a good because he's like you're like reminded of his super strength and his like super reflexes.
Yeah. It's the movie is just really smart in how it handles things with the vampire powers of this. Because again, they're not sure. That's the thing too. House of Dark Shadows isn't trying to be the series, and I love it for that.
Yeah.
And again, you can literally watch the series and go, "This is so much different than the movie," but yet you can watch the movie and get an appreciation for the film too.
Yeah. Well, see, it's because it's the same great actors, and
Yeah,
they're for the most part playing their characters. So you get that, but you already have the series.
yeah,
Like you can't. So you get them in like you get them you get them in a horror movie setting when you
yeah,
get like those real locations. So you because I always compare it like to the '60s Batman movie because it was almost like the same situation where you had a successful show,
yeah.
and the movie had to make it different. So you had more vehicles, you had more villains, and this and House of Dark Shadows does the same. It makes it more epic. It makes it into that story again, but in like the movie setting.
Yeah, something I've tried to explain to people too, like with Dark Shadows being a series, and then they did a movie while the series was going on. You got to look at it a reverse way because there are movies that would go on to become series. Look, In the Heat of the Night, because I
Yeah,
just covered it here on the channel. Was a movie first. MASH was a movie first. And again, there's just Stargate was a movie first.
uh-huh.
And then it became a series.
Yeah.
With Dark Shadows, that wasn't the case. It was a
Yeah,
series first,
right. Yeah,
But yeah, it's really the series is great because you get this big long development of characters
yeah,
and you get all that time with them, which is great. With
yeah,
the movie, most of the characters are changed a bit, but you appreciate the change.
yeah.
Let's see. Is there anything you want to add before we go?
I have a question for you.
Sure.
All right, so let's say you have let's see, let's say 100 minutes because House of Dark Shadows is right under there, and 100 minutes that'd be what about 4 episodes of the series?
Yeah.
And if you wanted to get someone the vibe of the series, give someone a Dark Shadows kind of night, you were giving a friend they had never seen it, the movie or the show. What would you show them? You could pick 5 episodes of the series or House of Dark Shadows.
As much as I'd want to show them House of Dark Shadows, I'd show them episode 211.
Mm-hmm.
I would show because you still have Victoria Winters. I would then I would show them the episode where Doctor Hoffman discovers Barnabas is a vampire. Then I would show them the Barnabas being cursed. The the third. You might do it in reverse, and that would be cool. But that would be my third. And my fourth episode, I would show Barnabas going back to 1897 because that by that time, like him going back to 1897 to risk being a vampire to save a kid because
Yeah.
he knows what it's like to lose a kid in Sarah Collins, his own
Right.
sister.
Yeah.
You know, that's sort of the irony. Like, it's why he's going back to 1897. He knows what it's like to lose his sister. He's not going to have that on anyone else. He's not going to have somebody what it's like to lose a young kid like David or Amy. He's not going to have that.
Right? Yeah.
But that would be my 4.
Because I've done both. Where it's, like sometimes I've shown people the series, sometimes I show them House of Dark Shadows. Whatever I show, but it always goes well though.
Show. Tell him you're going to show him the series and then show him the movie. Have it really unexpected. Like, that's what I'm going to do to somebody one day, and there will be a special place in hell for me.
Right? Yeah. Right. So I show him the movie, and when you're done, and then you have.
Have you seen the Have you seen?
And then after you show him the movie and tell him, and there's 1,244 episodes to go.
Yeah, that's the thing. Somebody asked me how long is the series. I said 1,245 episodes. They're like, holy shit! Yep. So I mean, yeah, like you gotta. My friend's like, where's he at? I think he's in his 700s.
Oh, cool! He's going along there.
So he's going through it, but you know, he's got a ways to go still. He's like, I can't believe I've watched 700 episodes. It's like, I can. I think
they go by fast, you know.
Yeah, it's easy to do because Dark Shadows. That's the thing about Dark Shadows. It's addicting. Like,
yeah.
So, have you seen the one trailer for the new Netflix vampire show? It's in black and white. I'll send you the link to that too when we get done here. But it looks interesting.
Cool.
Have you seen the trailer for the Fall of House of Usher?
No, I haven't seen that yet either.
I'll be sending you 2.
Thank you.
So when we get that here, I'll message them to you on Facebook, my friend. Links to Lugosi Theater on YouTube is going to be in the description box. Go check out Bobby's channel. Also, add him on Facebook. He's a really cool guy. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me on this lovely, lovely Thursday evening or Thursday night. Sorry, it's dark now. Well, I was like, you got a podcast tonight? I'm like, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
What are you doing next Thursday, man?
Yeah, I think I'll be free.
You and I need to discuss what would have happened if you could have had we've had sort of Barnabas versus a werewolf, but what if Barnabas would have met Lon Chaney's the Wolfman?
That would be interesting.
What if it had been instead of Barnabas versus Quentin, Barnabas versus Lon Chaney's the Wolfman? And that would have been. We'll have that fun discussion. Plus, we'll have a couple more. I have some fun vampire questions for you. Which involve Willie Loomis too, because it's always fun to have a John Carlin discussion as well.
It is.
But I'll see next Thursday. Is 10:30 good for you? Or 9:30 your time?
Yeah, sounds great to me.
Okay, I'll message you Wednesday night to remind you, because sometimes I get bad at that. I gotta remember. Dude, it's like the week goes by so fast. It's like, wait, what day is it?
Right? Yeah.
Like, what day am I? Honey, do the kids go to school tomorrow? Yeah. Okay.
They go by so fast, you know. Like,
right. It's like tomorrow's Friday, and it's like, it's what? Okay. But Bobby, thank you for joining me tonight for House of Dark Shadows. I'll see you next week, man. You have a good night.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.